So we got the retail sales numbers for April today. Retail sales were flat, no change. This was a disappointment. I believe they were expecting like a 1% gain or something, but it's not surprising that this did not meet expectations because neither did the CPI number and neither did the non-farm payroll report last week. So April overall seems to be a pivot point for Wall Street and for the wizards of smart who think that they have a good grasp on our economy. Now, the retail sales number here is not nearly as alarming to me as the other two numbers, as CPI and as the non-farm payroll report, because frankly, people can decide to. Well, first of all, retail sales did not fall at all. You had a massive gain in retail sales back in March. It was up like 8% or 18%. I can't remember. It was some ridiculous, huge number. You were not going to get as big of a rise this month, I wouldn't think. But to me, rising retail sales are not necessarily a good thing. It's not like people being hired, which is just objectively a good thing. People who don't have jobs go out and get jobs. That's a good thing. The fact that retail sales just sort of stayed flat is, to me, neither good nor bad. It's something that is, it's a number. It has meaning. It shows you what things are doing. Tells you what how much people are spending on retail goods. But it is neither a good nor a bad thing. So then, what does this number tell us? Well, it tells us that the stimulus, the effects of the stimulus have kind of leveled off in terms of stimulating people to go out to the store, go out to the mall and go shopping, or going on Amazon and going shopping. As of right now, whatever has been done up to this point has kind of leveled off. And considering that we are now 15% above the historic trend for where retail sales should be right now, that's not surprising. Retail sales are incredibly elevated right now. After the initial shutdowns, of course, there was a collapse in retail sales, but that very quickly, within like 6 months, got back to where it was before, and is now, back in line with the the rising trend, which apparently retail sales go up about 3% a year, nominally. So that's not including inflation. So with inflation, retail sales are pretty consistent, you would say. But now we're 15% above that point. We're essentially where retail sales should be 5 years from now. And that would indicate that the retail sales numbers are just being incredibly elevated by the stimulus, not just elevated to the point that they're much higher than they would otherwise be without the stimulus, because, well, without the stimulus would be way below trend because people are out of work and people don't have any, are not producing goods. But in fact, not only is the stimulus pumping so much money in that we're back at trend, we're 5 years ahead of the trend. And so without more and more continuous injections of stimulus into the pocketbooks of ordinary consumers, there's no way to maintain this elevated level, let alone continue to increase it. So, the authorities should be counting their blessings that this past month in April was not a negative print, because you have to keep in mind that as prices continue to rise very quickly, as inflation starts to take off, you might find people being less willing to buy goods. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily that they're going to be saving, but it means that if everything's more expensive, they're going to have to, out of necessity, do more with less. And so that means not only if they're spending all the money that they have coming in, that they're going to get less stuff, but it means that they might get into the attitude of, hey, this particular thing that I otherwise would maybe buy, it's just getting too expensive to the point to where I don't feel like it's a good value and I don't want to buy it. Of course, at the same time, you have the attitude that you're dealing with people that, prices are going up so fast. Do I really want to sit on this cash, or do I want to buy whatever I can right now and buy as much stuff as I can in order to get out of these dollars, in order to just, get out of cash, which is losing value, and buy stuff that I can use at some point. And so these are two separate instincts. It's two ways that people might interpret the same data in their ordinary lives. But putting that aside, in order for retail sales to continually keep rising, because the reason why retail sales are as elevated as they are is because of stimulus, the only way to maintain these levels is by maintaining the same level of stimulus, and the only way for them to keep rising is by continually ratcheting up the stimulus, mailing out bigger and bigger stimmy checks, enhancing the unemployment benefits. Because remember, retail sales numbers are calculated in nominal terms. So even if people are still buying the same goods that they were a couple months ago, but the price is now much higher, retail sales will be going up in nominal terms. There's no relation between retail sales and production or incomes or whatever, or I should say private sector incomes, because this is, there's so much of the economy now that's just being driven by stimulus. It's kind of hard to make sense of when we get to when we get this deep into the weeds about these specific measures, because from the stand view of thinking about an abstract theoretical economy, you normally think of it in terms of markets and how markets work and stuff. That none of that explains what's going on with the retail sales numbers, because we're not living in a market right now. And so as far as I'm concerned, the retail sales numbers, they don't really mean a whole lot, because they can go anywhere. I mean, just because retail sales are up, that doesn't necessarily mean much. If retail sales were going down, that doesn't necessarily mean much either. I guess you might be able to look at it as a bit of a metric of the rate of the injections of stimmies, sort of like the CPI in that sense. Heck, another thing that could be dulling the rise in retail sales is just the shortages, because prices are not necessarily rising fast enough. Well, we know this for a fact. Prices are not rising fast enough in order to account for the drop-off in production and the supply side of the economy. Demand is rising at a much faster rate than the price is able to adjust for in order to bring supply and demand into equilibrium. That's why you see our stores and restaurants and all these places with limited hours, you see empty store shelves. Well, when you go to the store and you want to buy something, let's say you want to buy vanilla cherry Coke, but because of an aluminum shortage, Coke is only able to can their core products, and maybe some more of these niche things are not available. Maybe you would have bought 4 12-packs of cherry vanilla Coke, but you go to the store, they don't have any, and you think, okay, well, maybe I'll just buy a 12-pack of regular Coke to get by, and maybe next week they'll have my cherry vanilla Coke back. Or maybe when you're on your lunch break and you go down to your local Chipotle or something, or Subway, and you go, gee, I'd like to get some lunch here and spend maybe $8. And you go in, and either the line's too long because there's too few people working, or they're shut down entirely because they don't have enough people to fill all their shifts. Then you say, well, geez, I guess I'll just buy a bag of chips at the gas station. And so this can blunt retail sales. Because even if people have those stimmy checks and they have that money in their bank account, they can go out and spend, but if there's nothing to buy, if there's nothing in stock, they can't do that. And so retail sales are going to not rise as much as they otherwise would have, even if the money is being injected into the economy. Of course, that will catch up once inflation expectations start ratcheting up and businesses start raising their prices enough in order to keep demand at bay. Because that's what happens if you have a product that keeps selling out and you can never keep it in stock, that means the price is too low. It means that there's so many people who want it that at any given time when someone comes in, they might not be able to get it. And so in order to reserve that product and make sure that it gets into the hands of the people who value it the most, you need to keep raising the price until you're able to keep it in stock, even if it's a small stock at any given time. So I'll keep this brief. Those were my basic thoughts on the retail sales numbers. I'm not going to read a whole lot into them. I don't think there's so many other variables that could be impacting the retail sales numbers at this point with the way that the economy is going. Maybe you guys have some more, have some thoughts of how better to interpret this, but I'm not willing to go out on a limb about it. I'm just kind of let the retail sales numbers just sort of be there. So I'll see you all tomorrow.